Hi, I'm Guntower Mike, and this is Eclipse, Fall of the Empire. Now, as you'll know if you've watched my list of top 10 games, I love Eclipse. It's effectively retired Twilight Imperium for me and is currently my number 2 game of all time. And the only thing wrong with it is we don't get to play it enough. I mean, apart from breaking it out for a gigantic 9-player extravaganza when one of the Friday Games Geeks holds their birthday, it languishes on my shelves, loved but unplayed. And then, while I was making that list, it occurred to me that there was a really interesting game to be had by taking the ancient ships and using them as the rebels in an uprising against the Galactic Center. They would be run by an AI using the technology chips that you draw every turn. And you would play the defenders of the Empire against an ever-increasing enemy that was expanding around you and then squeezing in towards the galactic core. I mean, essentially, it's Eclipse in reverse. Rather than starting small and spreading out, you start big and slowly contract as the rebels get bigger and bigger. And the aim of the game isn't so much to win as to survive. So, this Christmas, I decided to give it a try. Now, a couple of health warnings here. I was inventing this on the fly. So, I was making it up as I went along. The rules, frankly, were very fluid and changed as the game progressed, and I realized that my first ideas weren't working and I needed to do it a slightly different way. So what you see here it's really just a bit of fun. But I thought some of you might be interested to see it. So here for your delight and delectation is The Fall of the Orion Hegemony. As the name implies, I thought it only fitting to play the Orion Hegemony. Frankly, I like it better than the Eridani, so decision made. I decided to give myself 4 starting technologies, and I got lucky with the draw, because I ended up with an improved hull, anti-matter cannon, and phase shields, which basically meant that my starting ship plans were stonkingly good, because I upgraded my ships as appropriate. I laid out the board as per a normal game, except that I didn't place any player hexes. And then I turned over all the Sector 1 and Sector 2 hexes, and any hex that had an ancient on it automatically rebelled. If it had an ancient homeworld on it, it both rebelled and got an ancient cruiser attached to it. And here I should point out that I was playing with the Rise of the Ancients expansion, which gave me the pieces I needed to make this work. I gave myself an opening build fund of 4 times the number of Rebel hexes, which was enough to buy myself 2 dreadnoughts, 2 starbases, and a small handful of cruisers and fighters, interceptors. And that was it. That was my starting base. I played this as a 2-player game, drawing 4 technology tokens a turn from the bag. And as I said before, the technology track acted as the AI. The way it works is the rebels got 1 turn for every chit from the technology track, and the type of technology, working from left to right, determined what it was that they did. Any weapons or any kind of military build on the track allowed them to build an extra ancient ship. If the military technology was on the right-hand side of the advanced technology line, then they got to upgrade an ancient ship into an ancient cruiser, and that was placed face down, so I didn't know what cruiser it was. The rebels automatically got to move one stack of ships per turn, starting with the largest stack and progressing down from there. The way the rebels moved was by rolling a die and then moving in that direction if there was a wormhole allowing them to do so, which also meant that because of the randomness, it gave me a little bit of a chance. Fusion sources, drives, and anything that gave extra discs increased the number of stacks they got to move in that turn. And like I say, I was making it up as I went along, so the system refined over the course of the game. But basically, what it meant was that the rebels got to move a fleet of ships every time I did something. So the more things I did, the more ships the rebels got to move. But they didn't get to overwhelm me by moving too many ships. Certainly not at the start of the game. And the game started as a bit of a Cold War. The rebels built up their forces. I snagged a few nice technologies. And then the rebels finally moved into Alderaan, and things started hotting up. I moved my fleet in to intercept them because they were getting a little too uncomfortably close to Galactic Center, and got a bit of a surprise when we flipped the ancient cruiser over to reveal that it had antimatter missiles as well as a plasma cannon. The fight was a lot closer than I would have liked, and to be honest, once I'd lost all three of my cruisers, I decided it would be a good idea if I withdrew and came back to fight again. I came back in with 2 dreadnoughts, and was able to stabilize the situation. Problem was, I was so beat up, I couldn't take advantage of the strategic position and advance any further into the rebel stronghold. And that was my big mistake. Now, to be fair, if I had gone for it at that point, it would probably have been a very bad move. I mean, true, the rebel stronghold was wide open and undefended, but I was literally down to 1 dreadnought. And there was no guarantee that that dreadnought was going to be able to take out that stronghold. Even if it had, Galactic Center was wide open, and if I'd taken the stronghold out, I would have simply turned over the Sector 3 tiles until I found the other rebel base, and the stronghold would have relocated to there. So I needed to regroup. On top of all that, I was so strapped for cash, I simply couldn't afford the extra turn needed to take that base. So discretion was the better part of valor, and I decided to regroup. Bad move, Orion. Because while I was regrouping, the rebellion was growing. One of the things I had decided right from the very beginning of the game was that at the end of every turn, the rebellion got to expand. I would roll a die, look at the dial. If the sector in that direction wasn't flipped over, I would flip it over, and if it had a reward space on it, I would place a reward on that, and it would join the rebellion and add its planetary points to the rebellion. And there is the rub, because every planet that joined the rebellion ticked up for the rebellion. Every planet the rebellion took from me ticked down for me and ticked up for the rebellion. And if the rebellion ever reached 40 points, then the entire galaxy rose up, and I was 7 shades of toast. And we were getting very close to 40. So I was running out of both time and resources. I needed to do something drastic, and I needed to do it now. And so I built up my fleet, ready for the final assault. Only problem was, the rebels had also been building up their fleet. And by the time I was ready to move, there was a massive, and I mean massive, rebel fleet sitting in their stronghold. And then we reached turn number 7. There were only 2 turns left in the game, and the rebels were 2 moves away from Galactic Center. And it just made sense to me that if that was the case, then this would flip to some sort of end game where the rebels would make a massive assault on Galactic Center. And so I found myself in a position where one poor little dreadnought was so clearly going to be overwhelmed by this huge unstoppable force that there was no point even trying to support it. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to play for the next couple of turns, and I'm going to move in and I'm going to trash that smaller alien fleet there, and I'm going to leave my star bases to deal with that single alien cruiser coming into Galactic Center. Because at the time my star bases had antimatter cannons, massive phase shields, and targeting computers. I thought, we can take that one cruiser. What we couldn't do is take that entire fleet. We had to take out the other reinforcements and then regroup for the big fight next time round. And sure enough, I was right. My poor little dreadnought went up in a storm of dice. We took out the fleet in Alpha Lacerti, which just left the lone cruiser going up against my 3 star bases in Galactic Center. But it turned out he had 4 armor. That meant they had to hit him twice. There were 3 of them, each with 1 gun, each hitting on 5s and 6s. He had 1 gun, also hitting on 5s and 6s. And here's where my dice luck came in. Did I roll a single 5 or 6 in that entire combat? Guess. If you listen to my love letter to the design of this game on my top 10, one of the points I make is that you can reconfigure your ships to handle your dice luck. But I'd always been so strapped for cash and so strapped for time and so desperate not to let the rebels have too much time to do things that I'd actually neglected that one simple fact. So there it was. I lost on the roll of 4 dice. But I had a good time, and it was tough. It was very tough, as it should be, because this is the fall of the Galactic Empire. I enjoyed it enough to try again, refine the rules, streamline a few things, but probably not anytime soon because I've got other things to do, not least of which is my game Pandora Celeste, which, if you have enjoyed this, please do check out. We're hoping to crowdfund it sometime next year. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed yourself, you know what to do, and I hope to be back to tell you a little bit more about Pandora Celeste and other things soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.